Hello, welcome to Kivecast 97. The original version of this episode was released on April Fool's Day, 2019. This was the joke. In April Fool's 2018, Steve and I released an episode called Polish Collectibles. And instead of having it be about, bootlegs from Poland, it was interview with Katie Garvey, Tommy Garvey's sister, about nail polish. I made a whole super crazy episode that's still basically impossible to find, but if you ask me nicely, I can tell you where it's located. And so then this year, after Jakub Burzyński came out with his book about Polish bootlegs, I thought, well, wouldn't it be funny if we released an episode and called it Polish Collectibles, and saw if anyone bought it and tried to, listen to it. I also created sort of a weird fake radio show for some reason, because Jakub is also a classical musician and singer. So I'm also going to hide the original April Fool's version of this episode somewhere on the internet. It'll be up on the Facebook page, on the YouTube page. There'll be ways to find it. And, if you're a loyal space freak, you've already got it downloaded. And it's now a collectible, just like episode 79 and the original April Fool's 2018. So I'm really excited to do this. Steve was not available because we were recording in Poland, so the time was really crazy. So anyways, this is the interview with Jakub Burzyński that was once a April Fool's joke, but is now just a great interview about an awesome book. Right. I don't think I say this on the interview, so Wampa Wampa, welcome to episode 97. Well, Jakub has written a book, and somehow, I don't know, I missed the Indiegogo. I don't pay attention to Kickstarters or anything like that, and he contacted me and Steve last week saying, hey, do you guys want a copy of your book? And I said, yes, and also let's get you on the show. So tell us, what is the book, Jakub?
The idea of the book is the old idea, but the book is fresh. The book was just released in February, and I thought about you guys, of course, because I admire your Kivecast. So this is my duty to offer you the book, and it's not your duty to know about the book. This is, I think, the first in the world book about bootlegs at all. I think so, because I know that there is a book which is written now by Joe, of course, but it is not released yet. So this is the first book about bootlegs, and the first book about bootlegs from Poland. From the country which was for sure one of the 5 empires of bootlegs in the 80s. And I was born in Poland. I was grown up here. I was played with these figures in the 80s. So I love those figures. I love to collect them. I started to collect them for series about 2007. Then I gathered the whole complete collection, which is one of the only, I think, 3 complete collections of Polish bootlegs in the world. And I started to post some threads on forums, on Rebelscam, on Imperial Gunnery. And the guys that read the threads encouraged me to write more. So I got an idea to write a book because I'm a theoretician. I'm a music theoretician, so I like to make theories. I like to put together some things. And I put together a book, which was an idea, and I was convinced it will not come to the light because it's so huge work to be done. But I bought a nice camera in my mobile. I shot a couple thousands of pictures. I edited them, and I put together texts, which was huge work for 2 years, day by day.
Wow. And
now I released it on February, and on November last year, it was Indiegogo campaign, which was completed. The goal was completed in only 31 hours. So this is just crazy. This is fairy tale. This is happening. And now I'm so happy to have it released. This is short story of the book.
Yes, well, there's so much in there to unpack. So I'm trying to remember everything that you said because I really like so much of it. First of all, it's amazing that it is the first bootleg book. I was thinking about it, and yeah, Joe's been talking about releasing his book for years and years, but you beat him to it. So that's pretty cool. I saw that you thanked him in the book. So you guys aren't fighting?
No, I'm fingers crossed for Joe. This is a great idea for him, and he is the guru. He is the god of bootlegs.
Yes.
So this is just all respect to him. And we cooperated a bit because I asked a lot of collectors for some pictures for my book because, of course, I don't have every and each variant of each figure from Poland.
Right.
So they gave me those pictures, and Joe was the last one, and it was virtually a few days before the book goes to print, and he gave me nice pictures of his collection. So they are there in my book, and I hope some of my pictures will be in his book. So fingers crossed for Joe.
Right. And I think probably most of our audience has been spending the last 3 minutes trying to think 5 empires of bootlegs and trying to put together what they all are. Let's see if I can name all 5 empires just off the top of my head, and the audience listening can go along. So we have Poland.
Yeah.
We have Hungary.
Yes.
Okay. I guess Brazil.
Yes.
Okay. Russia doesn't really count. Oh, Turkey, of course.
Turkey,
yeah,
and then
the fifth,
the most obvious. Please.
Most obvious. I don't know.
The wall, Donald Trump.
Oh, Mexico, right?
Mexico, yes.
Yes. All right.
This is the big empire. They are producing bootlegs right now too. So this is
right. I think that's it. I don't consider them to be a vintage empire.
This is vintage. They started in '80s. So this is this was on this epoch, this era. So these 5 empires were the most notable for bootleg production in the '80s, '90s, and Poland was 34 characters was produced, which is pretty much because in Hungary, in Turkey, it was 10, 11 characters. In Brazil, that was 35 too. So we are comparable with Brazil, I think.
Right, 35 characters. Okay. Well, I won't make you name them all. I am interested in the idea that you remember actually playing with the Polish bootleg toys?
Yes, I remember it very much, and I still have 4 of them in my collection, which are grails for me now. But of course, I played with them, and I regretted it because we dreamt about American figures, which was not available in Poland. Because that was the main reason that it was copied. We had the movies in the Polish cinemas in the 80s, but we had no toys. And we heard about those toys, but we didn't get them in the shops. So the private producers tried to get some American original toys and copied them in some good way or some very bad way, and sold them official in Polish shops in the communist era in Poland in 1980s. I bought them. Many of kids bought them, and no one knew about how many of them there are, because in one shop you couldn't get all of them in one time. So only now we can put it together and count them and know how many series there were and how many producers, and we don't know about all producers till now. So this is kind of mystery, but we know pretty much how many of the figures were produced back then.
Okay, so what I'd like to do now is sort of, because I have a fair number of these. We'll talk about the history of how they've been collected. But if I just take as a simple example, a standard unarticulated unart, as we like to call them, bootleg Chewbacca, right? So just a kind of it's a piece of rubber. The arms don't move. It looks sort of like the Chewbacca toy, but usually it's a little bit warped with time because it's rubber. It's a little bit reddish tinted. It's not properly colored. So how did that get from how did that end up in a child's hand? Like, do you know where it was made in Poland? Do you know the names of the companies that were making it? Can you give me an example of like the name of a shop where you would get it? How much maybe it would even have cost, or what packaging? Because I have like maybe 7 of these, and I have no idea like how they were actually sold and distributed.
This is a good example. Chewbacca was one of the most numbered figure. It is today we have about 200 copies survived of unarticulated Chewbacca, but this is one of the great series, the unarticulated series, and is so great. And we don't know the producer. We don't know how was it made, because before unarticulated Chewbacca, there was articulated Chewbacca, which was made by a different producer. We also don't know his name, and we don't know why the producers of unarticulated series copied figures. It was for the beginning 17 figures, then it was 10 more, and they copied these characters, not the others. They just got in hands such characters and copied them. Chewbacca was very popular, and I can tell you it was very well made in comparison to the other figures. Yes. But the colors, of course, could be very, very not movie-like, and unarticulation was not good for the kids. I was suffering also. It was impossible to play with them with moving the limbs. But I loved my Chewbacca. I have my original Chewbacca at home from the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And this is one of the iconic figures. So every kid had to have Chewbacca, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, and Stormtrooper, of course. So it was thousands of Chewbaccas in the shops. It was sold loose, this unarticulated series, without accessories, sometimes with capes, and Polish Chewbacca came with cape. But you have to be cautious, because there is another series of unarticulated figures, which was later in the 1990s in Poland, and it is called by poker cape figures, and there was a Chewbacca there too. But this is not the same Chewbacca. This is not Kenner-like Chewbacca. The Kenner-like.
Really? Okay, so I'm all confused here. So so all Chewbaccas in Poland came with a cape.
No, there was 3 Chewbaccas in Poland, and one was articulated. It was without cape, but with crossbow. Okay. The second series was the unarticulated series. It came with cape. It was thick plastic cape, vinyl cape.
Wow.
And no accessories, no gun, no nothing. It was so loose.
Now, I've never seen one. I've never seen an unarticulated. I mean, I have the poker cape, but I've never seen the other cape.
The other cape was for the unarticulated series. It was thick brown cape with some strange facture on it. It is very nice cape. I have 2 of them, I think, and it is thicker than a cape of Vader or other figures. Not all figures came with cape, but Chewbacca came with cape for sure. I can remember that.
Wow!
And this was nice.
So,
it was nice to display.
They would just be like in a bin, just sort of sitting in a, not necessarily a toy store, but like a grocery store, or what kind of stores were they sold in?
This was display. I don't know how to name it. If you have a store and between you and the lady that sells the figures, it was the display, the horizontal display under the glass. Okay. And they laid all down there. Figures.
So like a glass display case. I see.
Yes, and you can watch them, and you can choose your color or whatever you like, the character, and you had to be quick, because it was queue for those figures. There was the days that the figures arrived, and the queue was very long, and you have to be quick to choose your figures, to buy them, and to go away. So this was kind of sport to buy those figures, and only some of them were after the day of arriving left. Some Chewbacca, some Stormtroopers, some Darth Vaders, because it was very, very big number of them. But the rest of characters, if you were not quick enough, you couldn't get them.
Right, which is pretty much still the case.
Yes.
So you had to pick them quickly, and there'd be a line. And so, is that why they were different colors? Because kids would just sort of ask for different colors, and they didn't really care. Why do you think they were different colors?
It was two groups of kids. My close friend from the courtyard liked very strange colors. So
okay.
he bought silver Han Solos and so on and so on. And I was fanatic of movie colors. So I tried to buy only the movie colors, which was not easy because there was no movie color Ben Kenobi in my city, for example, and no movie color of Luke. I had Luke Skywalker in movie color, Chewbacca in movie color, and some more. But I had about 30 figures those times, unarticulated and articulated, and half of them was absolutely not in movie color, and I regretted it very much.
Wow, that's really fun. I mean, that's trying to imagine what that would be like, just sort of lining up and seeing it. I now really understand I never understood the colors, and so now I get it, because you just
the colors was just because of there was lack of anything and everything in Poland those times. It was communist era, very dark times. And if you were a private producer, you were virtually illegal producer. You had to be under umbrella of something like cooperatives, which was official, and then you could produce and sell toys. So they produced it from anything they could. And they had, one day they had green material, one day they had purple, one day they had brown, and they produced figures from what they get. So there is no green Chewbacca yet. I hope if it suffers, it will be very pricey. But there is a lot of figures in very strange colors because producers get those colors in the day of production. So this is the explanation.
Right. And then so the first series that's articulated, that's extremely rare, correct? Like that's almost impossible to find?
Yes, it's almost impossible because all figures we know now are in the possession of black hole collectors. So this is very, very hard to get them, and nothing new surface for now. So the first two series are articulated. The first series is only Chewbacca. This is one figure series, and the second one...
That's a good series.
This is a good series to collect. And the second one is the original series of 4 figures. It is Princess Leia, Ben Kenobi, Han Solo, and Sand People. And this is very rare. Princess Leia exists only in 9 copies, I think 9 examples. And the others about 10 to 17 examples from this series. And this is the first two series in Poland from the beginning of the 80s. Then it was an articulated series, which was very popular, so it's easy to collect them now. And then it was next series. I counted 10 series, from which 8 was Kenner shaped.
Right. And then you were saying about the poker capes, because those are somewhat famous. So I'll try to explain this for the listeners. There were certain figures, and they had these weird, like, white capes with designs on them, and the designs looked like playing cards. And I remember on some episode a long time ago, I realized that on the back of Chewbacca, it said AS. And so it said as Chewbacca. And then I realized, and I looked it up, and actually a colleague of mine is Polish, so I asked her, and I was like, yeah, that means ace. So I'm like, oh, is it like a card game you were supposed to play with these figures? And she had no idea because she moved to Canada when she was 5. So why were there capes that looked like playing cards, Jakub?
This is very mysterious series. I made a little investigation about it. We don't know the producer. We even don't know the time that it was produced, because I cannot remember this series from shops. But in the 1990s, I was a grown-up man, so I hadn't interest in the toy figures anymore. So I couldn't observe the market. But I am pretty sure it was produced about the end of the 90s. And the cape is, I think, stamped with some matrix. And I am with this theory that it is Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. This is fragment of some card with naming the actors and the characters. Because we had in the 80s, we had in Poland copies of American badges where it was written Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi and so on and so on. And this is not the same stamp. This is not the same, but this is the same kind of thinking, I think. So it is not the card figure S, because as is in Poland is also as is one of the figures in the cards. But this is, I think, part of the sentence, P.J. Mayhew as Chewbacca and Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And my investigation led me to another things that we knew about only two figures of those series. But the two capes that they had wasn't good for them, because one was Chewbacca and one was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we got only Stormtrooper and Chewbacca. So I found that we know about two figures of Obi-Wan Kenobi that are completely different in mold from the camera-shaped Polish figures, and it could be possibly the third figure from the series from the cape of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we have to find now the Stormtrooper cape, and if you look on your cape of your Chewbacca, there is a number also on it. And we have the capes number 2 and 3. We don't have the cape number 1. So the Stormtrooper cape could be the number 1. But also, this is more complicated, because just few days after the book went to the print, with those theories about Ben Kenobi and so on, another figure surfaced on the auctions in Poland. And this is Sand People, which is very similar in the material to the Chewbacca from the poker cape. And we now we collectors consider it will be the fourth figure of the series. And even there is one Darth Vader which differs in the mold from the other unarticulated figures. So maybe the series counts 5 figures, and we need to find 5 capes for them. It's very mysterious. And if I add one more thing, that we know the Stormtroopers from the series which are covered with silver and yellow paint, but we know also about 2 white Stormtroopers with some colored dots on them, which are exactly the same mold as those figures from Poker Cape series. So that could be the earlier version of those Stormtroopers from this series. This is all in the book, of course, but not the figure that surfaced recently, the Sand People figure, which is unique and is sensational now. So as you can see, this is very vintage subject of Polish bootlegs, but it is just now happening that some figures are surfacing. For example, the AD-8 figure, the robot, the torture robot, surfaced as late as 2010 on the market, and it was produced in the 80s. So this is just crazy. This and exists in 6 examples only.
Wow. Yeah. So there is a lot to get to the book. I guess I should probably be a good capitalist and allow you to at least tell people where they can find the book. Can people buy the book?
The people can buy the book, but this is like collectible now, because it is not in official sale. It is very limited edition, and I am sending it alone. This is it can be ordered only by me. And you can, of course, write me on Facebook, or you can visit my Instagram, which is, it is complicated. Instagram, it's called like Star Warsaw, because Warsaw is the capital of Poland. But the first S is not the letter S, but digit 5. So it is 5 Star Warsaw. Well, this is my Instagram.
We can include links. I think most people can get to you through Facebook. Okay, good. I'll get back to more capitalist stuff later, but I'm really interested in. So do you remember how much they cost? Was this only for like the more successful members of society who could afford these things? Were they really inexpensive? How were they priced?
They were really cheap, but we didn't get much money those times. Of course, the salary in Poland was about $30 those times in 1985, I think. And an articulated figure in 1985 was 65 Polish zloty, which was 10 American cents, I think.
Okay.
And the articulated carded figure was 440 zloty, which was more than twice more expensive. But still, in dollars, it was very cheap. If you came to Poland as an American citizen in those times, you could buy a lot of Polish figures, but nobody thought about this those times.
You're right.
So I can remember that I asked my mom each week, "Mom, please give me 65 zloty for an articulated Star Wars figure." So it was price.
And do you remember seeing the articulated series in the shops or no?
The articulated series, not the first ones. I had two figures of the first articulated series, but I get them from my cousin, I think. The most famous articulated series, which was the carded one from the Gdańsk, from the north of Poland, I can remember very well because it appeared in 1985, and it was sold till the end of the decade. And it was displayed on the shelves, pinned to the shelves with the pins, because it was the paper of the blister. And it was a very nice series for us, but it was very strange because, as you know, this series had only three pairs of limbs attached to 20 corpses. So it was very funny to observe. And if you were a kid and you didn't know the Kenner originals, so you could think that those toys are original with those limbs. And it was kind of shock when I got the Kenner figures in hand finally, and I could observe how was it in original.
Right.
So this series were very popular, and as I said, it was 140 zloty, which was about 20 cents, and it was very fragile. The limbs went out immediately after unpacking the figure, so the colors were crazy, and but we liked this series because it was movable, it was articulated. And then then came the most famous series. It was the Deluxe series with 4 figures of Gamorrean Guard, Reese, Yoda, and AT-AT Driver. But it was late 80s. It was later.
Okay. Yeah, one of my favorite figures is a unarticulated Chewbacca, and the arm is missing. And
yes, it was popular. Kids did it. They cut off the limbs and pin it up again with the pins, so it was movable.
Yeah, I just sort of imagine just some kid being like, "God, I got to move the arms. It's too much." Wow. Do you think that? I mean, you said Chewbacca is very popular. Do you think, in a sort of spiritual way, is there any figure that you think is particularly Polish that like resonated more with Polish kids for, the society they lived in or the culture?
I don't think so. It was with Polish kids. It was some link in the society in Star Wars movies because the adult movie goers were linking it with the situation, with the political situation in Poland, because we had the empire, the bad empire of Russia on the border. And we were under their feet. We were behind the Iron Curtain.
Yes.
This situation politically was comparable for us. But the figures, no. The figures were just pure joy for kids to play with, to have Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and so on. And spiritually, I don't think so. Maybe spiritually was the the situation of the giving 3 pair of limbs to the 20 characters in the
Yes.
This was the Polish spirit. This was really Polish spirit to, I don't know why, but it was just shortcut for them to make only 3 pair of limbs. And the colors, the painting of the figures was Polish in spirit, because the painters, there was women usually that were painting the ready figures out of the mold. And they didn't even see the movies. They just painted whatever they like on the figures. So you have the Chewbacca with green back, with white back, with silver back, orange back, anything. The eyes could be bigger or smaller, and so on and so on. So this is Polish spirit, but it is not connected with any spiritual thing, I think, here.
Okay. Although maybe the famous Return of the Jedi poster with Darth Vader's head blowing up, maybe that is representative of the communist overlords being overthrown.
Yes.
I'm stretching.
I love this poster, and this is another thing, because we had in Poland in the 80s great school of poster makers, of art posters. So each and every movie that came to the cinemas were equipped with the art poster made by a professional poster maker. And this one is just great. I don't know from where was the idea. If you can see, there is in the blowing helmet, it is also the parts of the camera there. So this is the idea is just crazy. And I don't know if the poster maker, if he's seen the movie, but the idea of the poster is just great. Not many connection for the Polish situation at those times.
Right.
This is just fun. This is just joy, and this is great. This I agree.
Yeah. It's nice too, because there's a lot of negative sides to communism, but there's also a lot of support of art schools. So I think you can see, at least on some level, that the art is being supported in those posters. Again, maybe I'm making too much of a stretch. Yeah. So as far as currently collecting, so I haven't bought a Polish bootleg Chewbacca in probably since you've been collecting them. I mean, back in 2005. Basically, you had to either buy them from John Alvarez or Joe Iglesias, and they were all around $80 a piece. And then, out of nowhere, someone came in and started flooding the market with more of them. That might have even been you. I don't know. And they ended up going down to $40 a piece. What do you think if someone's listening and they just want an example of an unarticulated Polish any figure? What do you think they should be prepared to spend?
I can agree. They grown up with prices very much recently.
Okay.
Also, some people are saying that my book will cause some price growing. Yes. I don't know it is the main cause, but of course it will be bigger interest. I can stick to the sentence that I heard from Steve Sansweet. He said that the price of the figure is as big as the buyer can give. So right. There are a lot more buyers on the market now. A lot more people, far more people that are interested in Polish bootlegs. And I think Polish bootlegs are still underestimated, underpriced. Because if you compare it with the Turkish and with this Hungarian bootlegs and Brazilian bootlegs, they are very pricey right now. And Polish bootlegs still are not as high as they are. And if you compare for example, iconic figure of the Turkish figures, which is Blue Stars, which is Blue Snow Trooper, there is a lot of Blue Stone Troopers in the market. And they are now priced at $1,000, $2,000 each. And some figures of Polish series are very rare and are under this level of price. So I think we can expect the prices will go higher in next few years, and they are high today. Unarticulated figures are not so high still. You can buy them for 30, 40, 50 bucks. But sometimes, of course, if there is a rare color variant, you have to be prepared for a couple hundred of dollars. But articulated figures are more pricey, and especially the rare, the first articulated series, and deluxe series is very pricey. You can buy incomplete Yoda, for example, for $200 or $300 now. But if you can find a Yoda's cane, which is completely rare, and a complete accessories of Yoda, so you have to be prepared for maybe $2,000 for complete Yoda figure.
Okay.
This is very best. But half of this is the cane, so you can imagine how rare is it. So this is those kind of prices. I'm not sure if there is a complete list of prices of Polish figures, because it depends on the collectors. If some collectors want badly some figure, they offer very insane prices. And there are also some figures that are very popular characters, like Boba Fett. You can imagine any Boba Fett produced in Poland was very popular and big in number. But Boba Fett is icon. So on eBay or other auctions, you can find auctions with couple hundreds of dollars for very popular figure of Boba Fett. I don't think so. It is a good price, because those figures are not selling on those prices. There are too many of them. This is just the popularity of the character, I think.
Wow. Well, I am really looking forward to getting the book. You told me that I have to share it with Steve, but I'm just going to keep it. No, I'll share it with him. But again, it's called Far, Far Away. Okay. And at that point, we just started talking about Bach. So if that interests you, track down the original episode. Until episode 98, which will hopefully be recorded at Celebration Chicago, this is Skye on behalf of the not here Steve saying, Wampa Wampa.